All right, Jason here again, another AWS project. And this one is the big one. We are going to basically in here act as if we are migrating a workload running in an enterprise data center onto AWS. We're going to use a lot of AWS technologies out here, EC2 and RDS among others. So this will take quite a while here, so be a lot to follow. So first of all, we're going to go into the VPC and create a virtual private cloud. We're going to create VPC here, and the name, we're going to do this, by the way, in the GUI and in the code. So we're going to call it VPC production. And the CIDR block is going to be 10.0.0.0/16. And the rest of this is good, so we can click on create VPC. However, as you all know, I love to do this in code, but so we're going to bring this out here, and we're actually going to do both steps at the beginning here. So we're going to create the subnets and the VPC here. So as we expand here, of course, if you're going to do this through Python, you've got to have your access key ID and secret access key, which after all the series of these videos here, we'll actually delete. But what we'll do is create a VPC of name, VPC production is what we're going to call it. And US East 1, and we'll have a public VPC and two private VPCs. The first public and first private will be in the same availability zone in 1A, and the private one will be in 1B, and these will be the CIDR blocks for each of the three. So we are going to run that so we can make our VPC and the three subnets at the same time. All right, so we've done that. We can refresh this, and we see VPC production is here, and our subnets, which would be actually, yeah, there we go. Our subnets here, production, public 1, private 1, and private 2, are all here. So next up, we are going to do this through code as well, but I'm just going to make an internet gateway. You would create here, and for the internet gateway, we're going to call it IGW prod. We can create it right there. We can also do it through code, and what's going to be named again? Prod. This will be in the documentation, and we've got to make sure that our VPC is in there as well. So we're going to click on that, copy that, and throw that in the code here. And this is not really configured, but we're going to run this and see if it goes. It does not, so we're just gonna create it here and fix that a bit later. So we're going to create an internet gateway, call it IGW for internet gateway prod create, and we'll attach it to the VPC, which will be the production VPC. We'll attach there, and then we'll go, see it's there. Next we'll go to route tables, and we see here one is automatically made for VPC production, and for routes we're going to edit routes, add a route. We're going to get all traffic out to the internet through the internet gateway and specify that. So we will do that and click save. Hopefully I'll fix the rest of the code there so you can use that as well to make it a bit quicker. Now we are going to go and create an EC2 instance. This one you'll definitely want to do through code. It'll be a lot quicker, but we can launch the instance right here. And the name is going to be a little bit odd here. We're going to use AWS use1 app01. I want to put that in lowercase, honestly. And we're going to pick Ubuntu, and we're going to pick Ubuntu Server 22.04, staying within the free tier there. I'm going to be on T2 Micro. For the key pair, let me just check my other. No, it's going to be SSH key pair, where you can create any key pair you want there. For network settings, make sure that we're on the VPC production VPC. We're going to put it on the public subnet. Enable a public IP, since we want to be able to SSH into it a bit later. Security group name, we will call that app-sg01, if we can type. And we can do the same thing for here. And again, we'll want to SSH into this, so port 22, of course, SSH from anywhere. In a production environment, though, you definitely don't want to do that. And here, custom TPC, it's going to be a web page, so it'll be port 8080, and this will be from anywhere. Configure the storage. 8 GB is good. And the rest of this is good. So we would launch the instance here. But again, you know, if you've watched a few of these already, we like to use Python to deploy our instances here. So we want to make sure that everything here is correct. So we want to make sure that our VPC is filled in correctly. So we're going to copy this and throw it in where it says the VPC ID is going to be. And then again, here we want the public subnet. So that would be this. Copy that, and we will throw that in here. This is the security group that we wanted to make in the GUI there, app-sg01. The AMI ID is for Ubuntu 22.04. And a T2 micro instance type. And this is the name right here of the instance. The amount of storage we're going to have. The social public IP address, that'll be true. And everything else is good. So we will create this EC2 instance right here. So the key pair we've already got in the folder in a bit. It has created the security group, added rules to it, and it'll launch the EC2 instance in about a minute. So go back to EC2. We can see that its deployance is pending. So once it comes up, we'll get back. Actually, it's back here, so we will continue on. All right, so it is running, and the status check is initializing 202 is what it's going to look like in a bit. So next up, we're going to create an RDS database here. So we will go into RDS. And we will click on DB instances, create a database. Again, we'll do this in both the GUI and in code here. So we're going to want to use MySQL for this. We want to go to a bit of an older version, so 5.7.44, enable RDS extended support, keep in the free tier, and for the identifier here, it's going to be AWS use 1 DB01. That's what we'll name it, whatever. We're going to give it a very secure master password, which will be admin 123456. If this is a production environment, you want to probably use something like Nord Password Manager to give you a better one. So we'll do that. The instance class will be T3 micro. We'll make this 40 gigs just in case. 20 is more than good enough though. We're not going to connect this to an EC2 compute resource. Subnet group we're going to keep at default for now. We will change it at some point. Public access will be a no. Availability zone will be US East 1A. And as far as we see here, this will be good. Now, we do have this in Python as well. However, I've ran this a few times lately. It doesn't seem to work that well, but just in case, we will check to see what it does. So in this code here, a lot of the same stuff when you took a look at the EC2 Python code here. So database name, we'll just call it my database. There's got the master username, the master password. This will be T3 micro on MySQL on version 5.7.44. Let's get the correct VPC ID here for production and throw that in. And for the subnet, we want the first public subnet and the first private subnet. So in the GUI, I don't think it asked for a subnet, but we can do that. We can keep the subnet group even though that's for later on, and that's the availability zone. It's probably not going to run. I still need to take a look at this and fix that, but let's just take a look to see what it does. And it says error, we can't create a T3 micro database since no subnets exist in the availability zones for sufficient capacity. Yeah, it says we need to create a subnet, but that's what we did. So we're gonna stick with the GUI for this one, and we will create the database. All right, and that will be creating, of course. And now we are going to SSH into the EC2 instance. So first of all, got to move into the correct, got to move into the correct directory here, where we will have the key pair. And let's go back into EC2 here. And we have the public IP that we're going to SSH into. So this will be Ubuntu, not EC2 user. And then -I, and then the key pair that we have. Press yes in order to get in. Alright, perfect. So after a bunch of commands here, we're going to use a Python script to deploy a website and also deploy and create that MySQL database that we set up with RDS. All right, so there is this thing here when doing some of these commands, it's gonna ask to restart. This will be in the documentation, by the way, but we're gonna have to run this command here in order to not get the prompt to restart. So we will do that, and then we will confirm by putting this in. If only we didn't have the dashes here. I have to fix that. We see there, it's no longer going to ask us to confirm. Alright, so we're going to do a bunch of commands here. So we're going to update the instance right here. And when that finishes, we're going to install Python, the dev package, and the pip3 package, so we can install other packages in Python here. So that'll do its thing while I gear up for the next command here. Right, installing the pip library here to install other Python packages that we'll have in a bit. And when putting these in, you're going to want to put them in one by one, not all at once. I know it feels faster, but should not do that for sure. So some libraries of Python we're going to add here. This one's to unzip. Couple more libraries here, and then one more after this. All right. Now that we've done that, we're going to install Flask, another Python library here. It tells us to use this export command here, which we will do as well. And now we're going to install more of the Python libraries here using pip3 so that our MySQL database will figure it out. And this one directly for Flask MySQL database. Technical difficulties there, the internet went out a bit. But last library here, be passlib. And now we will install the MySQL client and get into there. And open the MySQL application in the EC2 instance. Going to inside here download a couple of files here. This wiki app is what we're going to deploy onto a website here, and this dump NSQL, this will be the table that we're going to create within MySQL. And now we're going to go into MySQL. So we'll do MySQL -h. We're going to get the RDS endpoint right here. So we're going to go into the database, copy this endpoint, and throw it in here. -P for the port, 3306. U admin and -lowercase p, and the password that we initially made for the database. Little technical difficulties there. I noticed that the database was hooked onto the wrong VPC for whatever reason. So we're going to go back and we're going to get into this MySQL database here. So MySQL minus H, the endpoint here, and then minus P, capital P, to throw on the port, minus U, admin, minus P. It should let us in. Got the secure password there, and now we are in. So now we're going to create the WikiDB database. We're going to first show the databases, and we want to create a database called WikiDB. So we're going to show databases again just to see that it's been added. We're going to show tables. Actually, first we need to, or yeah, rather, first we're going to use WikiDB, of course. Then we're going to show tables. See, nothing is in. The dump n.sql is what we're going to source it in. It's been added. Now we're going to show those tables. And we're going to select all from articles to see what is in articles, and that is what we are going to want to show or see once we go into the EC2 instance on the website. So now we're going to create a user here. We're going to grant all privileges to the wiki database to the wiki user. And we're going to alter user here, identified by the password. You got to make sure that this is entered in, or else it's going to look very funky when you open it up on the web browser. We'll flush privileges, and then we will exit. So now we want to unzip the wiki app here. And we want to go into the directory, and we want to edit the wiki.py file. First, we're going to see that it's in there, but we want to edit the wiki.py file with vi, and then want to press insert to be able to edit here. And the only change here is we want to use the endpoint here and copy it into the MySQL host area. So we'll replace db server 01 with that, press escape, then :x, enter in order to save that. And now what we've been waiting for, we're going to run the wiki.py file here with Python 3, obviously. And now it is now running. So we're going to go into EC2 here, going to copy the public IP with an HTTP and go to its, excuse me, supposed to be an 8080 at the end. Yep, there we go. Got all of the troubleshooting. Take a look at the articles here, and we see all 4 of the articles. If you want to log in, the username is admin, password is admin. And if you so want, we can add an article here. We're talking about suppliers here, so let's say supplier.faq. And the body, we can say, here's how to apply to be our supplier. and we can send that. That'll add another article to the dashboard, and that is it. Be sure to tear this down at the end. But there it is. We used EC2 and RDS to deploy an on-premises website onto AWS, or application onto AWS. So Sean, this was Rashawn. Jason, we'll see you next time.